screen. So you will be able to see the presentation, and I hope you do. So welcome everyone. It's such a pleasure to do this webinar today. I'm very excited about it because I think it's a start of a wonderful series of sessions like this, or college webinars like this, with an advisor on one side and students on the other side. My name is Biljana Tasetovikj, for all of you who don't know me. I'm an EducationUSA advisor. What is an EducationUSA? EducationUSA is a global USA Department network of advising centers that help international students in the application process to colleges in the US. And I run the Competitive College Club. I actually started the first ever Competitive College Club back in 2012. And at the moment, I'm working with the 7th generation of Competitive College Club students. You will hear a lot through the session. You'll hear the word Competitive College Club, or CCC, the abbreviation, a lot, but I will explain that. Just a second, I need to. I'll talk more about Competitive College Club in the slides that would come. I would not be the only speaker today. With me is Anastasija Tortevska. She's a Yahya Kemal student from Skopje. She was part of CCC for more than. She has been part of CCC for more than 2 years. She joined CCC in 2018. We worked together, especially last year, preparing her application, and she has some wonderful news to share with all of you. If you haven't seen our latest post on the Facebook EducationUSA Facebook page, she will talk. She has her own slides or part or experience about finding the college fit in this webinar. So I'm very excited to hear that part as well. And at the end, once we finish with our sharing, our talks, we will open the floor for questions, and you can type them in the chat section. So today's topic is finding the college fit. Before we start with the topic itself, let me just give you a brief information about what to expect in this webinar and the upcoming webinars. For all of you who just joined, I will kindly ask you to mute your mics because we are recording the session. So it will be really, I think, people who will watch it afterwards will really appreciate it as well. So weekly college webinars, or as we call them, EducationUSA Advisors versus Student Talks, would happen every week from now on weekly basis. And I'll have the opportunity to speak with all the students, CCC students, who got into schools in the US, who are actually still here in Macedonia, but preparing to go to college in the US in the fall, in the upcoming fall semester, or fall 2020. And we will talk about one specific topic each session. So today the topic is finding your college, or building your college list. And next week we'll have another topic that is also very important for the application process. So we hope that these webinars will give you an insight and a lot of information about how to prepare your application overall. Before I share my experience with advising students on the topic of creating their college lists, I would actually want to talk a bit about the Competitive College Club. That is for you who are new, who are just joining or are new to this concept. It's the first time you hear the word competitive, the phrase Competitive College Club. This is an advanced college preparation club that is established in Macedonia since 2012, and helps students from all around the country to prepare the application and apply to competitive colleges in the US, colleges and in universities in the US. We just finished and shared with the world the new blog we have. If you go on the blog, you'll actually see a lot of information and resources about the Competitive College Club. You'll learn more about what we have done in the past, how to apply, success stories. If you want to hear about who else has been through this, has been part of the club and is actually studying in the US at the moment, how we organize our meetings, resources. If you're preparing for SAT or TOEFL, you'll find useful links for preparation here as well. The fairs we have, annual fairs, and of course links to reach to us. So this is if you have more questions about CCC, we can answer them later on. Just to summarize, or actually just to briefly explain to all of you what you actually get when you are part of the club. And when we started in 2012, it was really a modest club that helped students basically with test preparation and the application documents, more or less. But now we expanded, so now the students can get really practical materials, how to prepare. We have individual and group sessions for writings, essays, preparation sessions with students who've been part of the process or already applied. We call them CCC scholars. Discussion hours where we tackle world or global problems and talk about solutions as well. The individual work with a senior advisor or an advisor like myself or my colleague, Laura. College preparation camp. So we also organize camp for either writing colleges or preparing the application documents. We have sessions or webinars, online webinars with colleges themselves, so colleges and universities with their representatives. So you'll hear from them firsthand about the application requirements. We have internship opportunities, research projects, and scholarship opportunities inside for our members. Okay, so keep your questions until we finish with the with this part, with the presentations, and then we would really be happy to answer any questions you might have. I'll start with my really view on how to tackle this part of the application. Actually, is the first major topic that we discuss within CCC, and it's according to me, is the most challenging part because this part, finding the right colleges, not only the right college, is really an endeavor or really an investment for international students because they have to learn a lot to go through this process successfully. And why do I say this? Because many international students really don't have the option to visit campuses, for example, or meet admission officers, professors, or current students in person. So more or less, we do have the internet or the university's websites as our most valuable or turn to resource in order to create our college lists. So I divided the overall aspect of view of how you can really narrow down this process for you. I really tried, when I created the slides, I really tried to make this simple for you. I know that many of my students that are joining today are really starting with this, and we already have one session on this, and I throw to them an Excel document and a couple of tips of how to start researching in universities' websites. And I'm aware that that's not enough. That we'll probably have a couple of other sessions where we'll go through really some details about how they can start, expand, and then filter their college list later on. But think of this in two sections. Think of finding your academic fit and finding your social fit. I like this was actually presented by our virtual intern Rebecca last year, and I really like the way how she actually divided those two parts that are very important for you to consider. So when we talk about an academic fit, we are talking about the fields of study you want to pursue or the majors you want to study. And if you don't have, at the moment, you're still not sure what you want to study, that's completely fine concerning the US higher education system, because really it's one of the biggest advantages of the US higher education is really their flexibility and the option for you to wait, for example, for a year, not to decide or declare a major when you start school, when you start college. So it's completely fine if you're on that side as well, when you're still not certain, but still that doesn't really prevent you from researching and really looking into colleges departments. I'll show you a website of one university, just an example. It's very, very common, although universities websites differ and they have a different way of organizing information. All of them have one section that is always there. That's the academics. And when you click on the academics section, you will actually find all the information about the majors they offer, the departments, and not only that, not only information about the programs they offer and the facilities as well, but you will find information about what else is offered academically concerning your majors. So whether the university offers you a study abroad option, whether they offer you internship opportunities, research work on an undergraduate level, all of this information are relevant for you to look into when you're deciding whether or not that school is fit for you, right? But I'll mention this a couple of times throughout the session today, that time is very important. As you can see, this is only one university website, and look at the information they have here only on one section. So my biggest tip or advice that I always give when I do in-person presentations, when I work with my students, CCC students, is that you have to give yourself time. And for this process, and if you want to apply to US colleges and universities, you have to start at least a year ahead of time. And I'll talk a bit more about how much the research, the college research actually how much time it takes as well. But look into this section when you're researching universities' websites, and you'll find the information, whether the university offers the major you're interested in and how it is organized, how is the semester, how are the semesters organized, when do you start the school year, who are the professors that teach there, who are the students that you'll study with. So these are all information that will answer actually your questions about whether that college or university is an academic fit. On the other side, we have to think of a social fit. US higher education system is actually really distinguishes itself from other educational systems in the world, I would say, because of this aspect of campus life or social life that students have on when they're at college. And this is very important to understand, that the studying in the US, it's not only an academic experience. It's also about socializing. It's also about using all other opportunities that the universities offer. I'll go back a bit to the same website. And as you can see here, the information is available under campus life, student life. It can have different names, but still it displays the same information. So you'll see actually when researching through this part, what is the university's this university offers, what does this university offer, what are some of the camps, the sections, how is student life organized. The organizations and clubs on campuses play a huge role in how you'll be engaged during your studies there. Sports, health and wellness, location, where the location and places you can visit nearby, the cultural life, how is it organized, what is offered on campus or off campus in the city where the university is located, diversity, who is there, how many international students they are also inviting or have on campus, and how is that part organized. You'll have the opportunity actually to meet people probably from all around the world. So this is a very, very important part, and later on in my next slides I'll explain how that fits into the colleges looking into your applications. And then where to start? You're thinking about this process, but you're thinking, oh, this is a lot of information. It will be difficult. Yes, it is, because it is because you probably have to learn how to be a researcher at this phase. But I think once you learn how to navigate through this process, it really becomes interesting. You learn a lot about the US educational system as you go through this process. And these are my guidance on how you can start and really succeed in making a good college list. So you learn a lot about how, the types of US colleges and universities, and what kind of students they attract. You will learn how to research the university's websites, and I'll stop here just to emphasize that please always use universities' websites to find information about that particular university. I think that's very important for you to understand, because there's so many online resources about student rankings, colleges rankings, student experiences, etc. I'm not saying they're not good; they're also helping. But when you start with this process, it's very, very important that you focus on their universities' websites and focus all your attention and efforts there. And once you do that, you actually get a feel of the college culture. You'll start to notice what is really particular, specific about that university, and whether or not that really fits your interests and ambitions. One small tip here: follow them online, follow their Facebook and Instagram posts, especially their YouTube channels. I'm following many universities online, and now during this time of global pandemic or crisis, they are offering really free virtual tours around their campuses. They are offering really interesting updates on what's going on campus, how they're preparing for the end of the academic year and for new academic year. You'll learn a lot about colleges following them online. And then another tip is that communication is key in this process. So you have to learn how to contact, communicate, and connect not only with international students on campus or students who are already there and have the experience of that particular universities, but also the admissions teams. Within the competitive college club, we have at least once a month a webinar with the universities from the US and from different types of universities: community colleges, research universities, liberal arts schools, and they all, with their information, with their knowledge, with their experience, they all contribute towards our knowledge about the US higher education. You don't have to, for example, if you only at the moment have heard of the Ivy League schools and really popular names among universities, and you come upon a session from a university you don't know, my advice is go and listen to that session and webinar and learn from whoever you can about this process, because many of these online webinars that universities offer share information that are common to every university and college in the US. And the people we work with, the people that present for our competitive college club students, are really amazing in doing what they do. They really provide information about what we can find on the website. So that's why this is a really crucial step in compiling that college list. And then then just match, know yourself and know the university. That's how you can match your interests, whether they are academic and social, and your hobbies and passions with whatever is offered on the universities. So look into those opportunities, because if you're thinking at the moment, really, I can go anywhere, and if they accept me, for example, or I can study at any university at the moment. That's really a very general, not filtered opinion about the colleges and universities in the US. Why? Because you don't know what, if you, let's say, if you're accepted and you go, you really don't know what to expect. You don't know the university. You don't know what the opportunities are there, and then you cannot really fully use whatever is offered to you. And that's the main goal of universities. They're looking into your applications to find a potential that will use whatever they offer at their universities. So that's why extracurriculars are important. What you do outside school is important, and how you do this research is important. If you put in your applications that you know what they have, what they offer for students, that means that you've done your homework really well, that you know the universities, and they will appreciate that in your application. And at the end, don't just go through information generally. You have to have a structured way how to do this. You have to have a document, some kind of a document, where you will put and record all the information you'll find. So, for example, in CCC, we have an Excel document where students enter many information. Specifically, we start with the statistics. But I always say to students, adjust this to your own personality. If you feel like a picture of the university really is more useful for you, to have a picture of the university and some general information that are really appealing to you, put that on just a Word document, a regular Word document, and put whatever you find for that particular university there. That's the start of the research project, just to put information on paper. To finalize my part, just to finish up, to wrap up this part, I want you to remember a couple of things. That this college search process is not something you can do in a week or two. You have to start preparing for the application process a year ahead of time. And this specific process of selection of colleges can last in between 3 to 6 months if you do an active research, active engagement in researching websites, communicating with colleges, communicating with students, gathering information, recording that information in your college list, etc. When you talk about fit, that's not just one way endeavor that you just make. It's a two-way street. It's a way how you see and learn about colleges in the US and universities, but also is the way how they see you when they review your application. Please remember that there is no official ranking system in the US. That makes things a bit difficult when you research universities, but on the other side, it makes it really exciting. Because there is no one official system that says so-and-so, this university is really the best in engineering, because there is no selection like that. And then universities really try to invest in the quality and the popularity of their programs in every department. That's why when you're researching colleges and you see their websites, you think, oh my God, they're good at everything. Whatever I choose, they are offering the best quality and the best resources. That's the message that they want to send. They want to tell you that whatever you choose to study at that particular university, they have the resources, they have the mechanism for you to help you to succeed in whatever you choose, whatever major you choose or area you focus your attention and your goals. So that's why keep this in mind when you are actually researching the websites, and please keep in mind that whatever you are coming up whatever you see when you're researching online, don't be too quick to dismiss a college that doesn't fit your perfect criteria. Just give unknown names, unknown colleges at this point for you a chance, and go through them, look at them, look at the opportunities for international students, and put them on paper just for now. And then later on, when this college list goes into review, maybe you will drop some names or some colleges off that list. And at the end, I want to finish up with the holistic application review. What is a holistic application review? You hear and see this on many universities' websites. It's a way how the universities in the US review your application. So as you look into universities for every aspect of the college experience, from academics to social life, to opportunities, career opportunities later on, they are also reviewing your application from every aspect. Holistic means that they review your application from the point of your academic strength, your grades in high school, but also your extracurricular activities. What are you doing outside school? Your writing skills, your test scores, your enthusiasm, your personality, your engagement and communication with them, etc. This is a holistic review. That's why the fit is a two-way street. It is actually the same way how you review universities. It's the same the way how they review your application when you submit at the end. So I'll stop here, and I'll ask Anastasija to continue with her slides. Just remember your questions, okay? And after Anastasija's slides and after her comments on the topic of college fit, we will open the floor for questions, okay?
So hello everyone, my name is Anastasija. I went through this whole process, and I can say one of the hardest parts of the whole application process was finding my college fit. And I can't stress this enough, Biljana repeated this a couple of times, but research is crucial for knowing where you want to go. There are simple things like how good this school is based on rankings or academics, but there are also smaller details that people usually bypass, but they're really important. For example, I've written here fraternities. Do you want to be a part of a fraternity? Or you don't want to be a part of a fraternity? On every college's website, there is always a percentage. They always say what percentage of the student body is a part of a fraternity. So, for example, if you don't want to be a part of one, a college that has 70% of its students in a fraternity isn't probably a good choice for you. Also, the first point and the most crucial one is the environment you want to live in and the people you want to be surrounded by. So, do you want to be surrounded by all different people with different interests from all walks of life? So probably a liberal arts college will be a better choice for you. If you want to be surrounded by nerdier people, if I can say that, for example, an engineering school will be a better fit for you. The details I mentioned earlier are very crucial for finding your fit. For example, based on your SAT score, you can very easily find which colleges you have the best shot at. But I'll get to that. Also, when you do research, it's very important to see what percent of the applicants and the students that were admitted, what their SAT score was. For example, Caltech is a very famous engineering school worldwide. It's an engineering school in California, that's in the Caltech. For example, I know a lot of people who have applied, but they always miss a crucial detail. Caltech always admits students with a 1,600 SAT score. That's the full score. So anyone below a full score on the SAT is automatically rejected. And people that don't do research make this crucial mistake. They waste a spot on their college list that could have been given to a college that was better fitted for them. And also, a good example from Caltech is that they admit 20 to 30 international students a year. That means from the whole world, only 20 people will be admitted. So your chances of getting into Caltech are really slim if you don't have a full score on the SAT. And a lot of colleges have on their website an analysis of their student body. For example, 1% will have an SAT score below 1,200. 10% will have below 1,300, and etc. You have to do your research based on your SAT score. I know that American college universities say they have a holistic approach, but if only 1% of students have a 1,000 SAT score, you can use your space. You use your space on your for colleges that would have a bigger chance of accepting you. The school spirit. Some colleges have a really good school spirit. What do they consider under school spirit? It's usually connected with American football. But if you're not that interested into sports, you can go to a school that doesn't have that much of an accent on school spirit. It all depends on your tastes. But remember, you have to pass at least 4 years, at least 3 years at that institution. So you probably should like it for every aspect it has, or for most aspects. Do they give generous financial aid? This is a very crucial point. Most colleges in the US say they give financial aid, they will meet your requirements, and etc. But colleges that are not need blind usually take your how much you can pay in consideration together with your application. So, for example, if a school isn't famous for giving that much financial aid, you can use your spot on your college list for a college that usually is very generous with aid. Those were the general tips, but I would like to remind you all again that research is crucial. Biljana, can we go to the next slide? So this is my college list. I thought it would be best if I told you all the things I did well and all my mistakes concerning the colleges, because that's the best way to learn from someone else's mistakes. As you can see here, there are 19 institutions I applied to. Don't do this. That's a lot of institutions. I gave a lot of my time and effort into applying to all these 19 institutions. I ended up writing 60 to 70 essays, and I spent a lot of time on each and every one. So that was a large chunk of time and a commitment on my end. If you think you can pull it off, I don't recommend you doing it, because the more time you spend on one essay or one college, you maximize your chances of getting in. Usually 12 colleges is the most recommended. 4 reaches, colleges that you wish you could go to that are very competitive. 4 that are on your level. For example, you're the best fit for that college. Your SAT score is exactly where it should be, and you think you do well there. And then you get 4 safeties. Safety colleges are colleges that aren't as competitive as all the 8 other colleges on your list. Those colleges you would have a pretty big chance of getting in. So that they're your safety net. That's why they call them safety colleges. But there's a small problem for international students, because if you require aid, safety colleges aren't that safe for you, because they do have to give you financial aid. But that's a general scheme of how your college list should look like. As you can see here, I was accepted to 3 colleges. I was waitlisted to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colleges, and all the rest I was rejected. This is a normal outcome, because applying to college in the US is a very hard and competitive process, and getting rejected a lot shouldn't come as a surprise. As you can see here, I got accepted to 2 of the most competitive and elite colleges in the US, MIT and Columbia. And why I think that happened was because I showed them that they were my dream schools, and I put an accent on why I would fit there, and why I would make the school a better place, and why we are fit for each other. For example, I'm a big nerd. I love math. I want to study programming, and I told MIT all about that. how I would fit there, how I would make friends, research, work, all of those things. And MIT liked me. The same goes for Columbia and all the other places. Now, how did I make my college list? As you can see, the third column says aid. That was the most important point of everything. I needed a full ride or an almost full ride from universities to actually attend. And all of the universities I applied to gave and offer full financial aid. MIT, Amherst College, and Harvard or Princeton, I think, are lead blind. That means that they don't know your financial situation before they admit you, and they look at it after. And all the other colleges look at your financial aid, financial situation before they admit you, and consider it during your application. Second, it's the location. The location didn't play a large part in my application process, but I hate cold weather. So University of Chicago was the only college that was located in an extremely cold environment. For example, Northwestern is a university that's really great. I like it a lot. But the reason why I didn't put it in my college list is because it's also located in Chicago, in northern Chicago, I think. And Chicago is a very cold place. So I opted out of applying. Then comes the rank. Rankings help me the most during selection because it's a very natural thing to do. You see how colleges are ranked, stacked against each other, and etc. But as Biljana mentioned, there aren't official rankings in the US. So I had to use many resources, charts, rankings, etc. What ranking I used here was the US news rankings. They are very famous, but don't take any rankings as definitive and the end. Why I used the US rankings was because they showed all the different universities, top 100, I think, and they had two categories. National universities and liberal arts colleges. The national universities are classical institutions where you can study whatever you want, and liberal arts colleges focus on the liberal arts. That means they will educate you on culture and all those things that you wouldn't usually have time to waste if you were dead set on one major. And when I made my college list, half of it went to the national universities and half of it went to liberal arts college. For me personally, I knew what I wanted to major in. So the first deciding factor of which colleges I wanted to go to was how good their academics were connected to my major. For example, some colleges are very good, are very famous, or very elite, but they might not have a good major for me personally. Or some colleges may not be as well ranked, but they would have a specific major that was very, very famous. As you can see, next comes the SAT. Even though US universities have a holistic approach, it is important for at least your SAT score to come in the middle percentile. What you see here is English reading and writing and the math sections of the SAT. And these are the information colleges have, their official information from their websites on how the student body ranks with the SAT scores. So, for example, liberal arts colleges are usually more, they don't really care that much about the SATs. But for example, competitive colleges, just like MIT, for example, that's an engineering school, they would have a pretty strict SAT median. Then there are the deadlines. Another thing that is very important when applying is what % of the population are actually international students. Because you don't want to be one of the 10 international students on a campus. I mean, if that's your thing, sure, go ahead. But having students that are international friends, having friends that are international students might help you along the way and make you feel less isolated while on campus. And then come at the end the acceptance rate. The acceptance rate is out of how many students apply, that many are actually accepted. And the acceptance rate is usually a big tell on how elite or competitive a college is. So, for example, Brown is an Ivy League school, and it has 5.1 acceptance rate. That means out of 100 students, only 5 get admitted. That's how competitive it is. And as you can see, half of my the universities I applied to were very competitive, and the other are also very competitive, but their acceptance rates are a little higher. For example, University of Richmond, that's a liberal arts school that I was accepted to, they have a 32.5 acceptance rate. And you should keep in mind that these acceptance rates are for the general ones. But when you're an international student, some schools have a lower acceptance rate for international specifically, because they keep in mind that the U.S. university is for U.S. students primarily. How I found my college list, I downloaded the first 100 U.S. universities out of the rankings and liberal arts colleges. First, I scrabbled over the ones that didn't give financial aid. Then I checked their websites for the SAT scores. If you know your SAT score, you think you know what it's gonna be, it's important to do that. For example, Caltech. If you don't have a full score, don't apply to Caltech. You can check this yourself. Then came the rankings. As you can see, I only applied to colleges that were in the top 40, both in the U.S. universities, in the national universities, and liberal arts. But that's purely your choice. For example, if I didn't get accepted into the top 40s, I wouldn't come to the U.S. And that's something you yourself subjectively have to know. For example, I had friends that only applied to the top 10s or top 20s because that's why they would only go to the US. It's very subjective. And please don't waste a lot of time on rankings, because lower ranked schools are usually less competitive, and you have a great time if better than in the Ivy Leagues or the very competitive, all due to lack of stress, lack of competition, and etc. Next slide, Biljana. These are a couple of links I set up. I mentioned rankings a lot, but I assure you they are not that important, because I was accepted. First, I applied there to a liberal arts school, and if I didn't get accepted anywhere else, I would have gone there, no questions asked, and I knew I was going to be happy. So it's a very subjective process. You have to know first yourself what you want. You don't have to know what you want to do with yourself, but at least know where you want to end up at, or how the place looks. Research is also crucial, because many of the colleges you will end up applying at will have an essay, will ask you to write an essay about why you want to go there. So do yourself a favor and start researching. It's the first step and the most important one. The links I put here are the US News rankings. That's the one I used. The Forbes rankings. Forbes are very famous. A Big Future by College Board. Big Future is also useful for finding your colleges. It's a selection process where you write down what you want, what you don't want, and Big Future will do that for you. And there are a lot of other rankings, like topuniversities.com, and a lot of rankings. And the most famous ranking of them all, the Shanghai list, that's a world ranking. And you should know something, that all rankings base where they put colleges on different things. For example, the Shanghai ranking puts the most pressure on where students end up at after graduation. For example, US News rankings usually depends on how good the academics are alone. And the Forbes rankings depends on how much money students make after graduation. So all these things vary from college to college, and you can't trust only one ranking. So that's why the most important thing is what's a fit for you. What college will make you the happiest? That's the best ranking you can make, and that ranking is only makeable by you. And I think that's all.
Perfect. While you see our email addresses here. I just wanted to reflect on some of the things that Anastasija said. Thank you, Anastasija. This was really, really useful. I'm glad that you have the this experience and impressions of the whole process. We don't want to scare people into thinking this is too complicated. It might seem at the moment, but still, you have at least a year to work on this. So eventually, things will get easier when you are, guided, and when you are putting a lot of work into finding the colleges. Before we move into the question section, just to go back to a couple of things that Anastasija mentioned. The first one is that eventually she mentioned the number of 12 schools on your college list. Eventually, that's the number we students would like to have as their final college list. But at the moment, if you're starting with it, still you don't have the SAT scores. You're really at the beginning of the whole process. We are learning a lot about colleges. Don't worry about the number at the moment. Just put whatever college really or university appeals to you at the moment. At the moment, you can have a list of 50 schools, and that's fine. As you go through the process, as you take the tests, as you learn more about universities, as you attend their webinars, and the webinars with the college reps we have within CCC, for example, as you learn from friends how it is like to study at particular universities, that's how you'll narrow down your choices. And the other thing is that for the rankings, the rankings topic is really deserves a separate webinar. There is a lot that can be said about it. Please note that in the webinar section there is, and also I send it to email. There is a handout we prepared for you where there are other search engines you can use to start this process. And once the rankings that Anastasija recommended are really useful as well as a starting point. So start from somewhere, that's okay. But as you go, as I said previously, as you learn more, you'll see that rankings are not really they are useful at the beginning, but they are not really comprehensive in terms of your specific needs or every student's specific needs and ambitions and goals. Okay, and one last thing I want to mention is that within Competitive College Lab, we just finished with a really amazing project on a college research list. And we will be sharing with the students a college list that contains information of the most competitive schools in the US, already filtered, researched, and confirmed for you. So this will be a list that we will share with all CCC students, and that can be also a starting point for you to go into each university website, and see if they are a good fit. I'll start with the slideshow here and screen sharing, and we can, I think, move to this section where either you can type your questions here in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and feel free to ask us any questions you might have. I hope this was useful. I really enjoyed that we had really, this is a difficult topic to cover. I agree, because it really, the research starts at the moment you're on this path and actually ends when you apply, the moment you apply, or it ends the moment you actually confirm the university where you want to go. Anastasija can touch on that a bit, I think, because for her, the research process still lasts. It's not finished. As she mentioned, she was accepted to most competitive schools in the US, which is a major success for her. And as far as I know, she hasn't decided yet where to go, whether it will be MIT or Columbia. So while we are waiting for questions, just briefly, Anastasija, how you will make the final decision, and what are the things you're considering at this point for you?
Well, even though I talked about rankings almost half of my speech, They don't mean anything when you're actually accepted. What's most important for me at the moment is how I'm going to fit in the student body and what type of people actually come out of there. Because what you have to consider is when you come out of that college, you have made friends and connections based on the people that have lived there and studied with you. So that's the first thing that I'm considering, what type of person I want to become afterwards. Because MIT is an engineering school, and I'll become a very good engineer. And Columbia has one of the most famous liberal arts course, and it will make you one of the most educated people out there based on books and history and the world in general. I saw there was a question.
There was just a comment from Leonid that he really enjoyed the presentation, very useful one, and he is hopeful. We gave him hope that this is not a daunting process, although it might seem at the moment.
I was very messy throughout the whole process. Biljana was almost mad at me all the time, and I felt great, so...
Yeah, maybe we can talk a bit about that although now we're really, for example, Anastasija went through it and she has the results now, she's more relaxed, etc. It's really normal to feel stressed through this process. I remind students all the time about that it's normal to feel stressed, that it's normal to postpone things, that it's normal to, to be hopeless at some ways, thinking that there is no one university in the US that will accept you. That's not a possibility for you, although you are an amazing student. So at moments you're helpless, but I think that's part of it. So this process is messy. That's why I say, that's why we have these webinars. And that's why I really emphasize the importance of CCC, because you can find many of the information we mentioned today online, right? You can do it on your own and reading information from websites. But I think it's very, very important that you have somebody, next to you all through the process. Whether that could be an advisor, a professor, a friend, somebody who really is with you through this process. And I think students in CCC feel this, that they are not on their own. You have somebody, you have students who have been through, so you hear from them, but you have students who are going through the process at the moment with you. So I think it gives a bit of hope. We have a question.
How did you manage your schoolwork and extracurriculars? Wait, the question. And extracurricular activities during the application period. I tried to do all of my schoolwork, extracurriculars, all the things I had to do. I tried to finish them as quickly as possible, because November and December were the months that I purely focused on the applications. So I don't recommend this, but I had a lot of colleges to apply to. I had a lot of essays. I wrote 60 to 70 essays purely because of the number of colleges I was applying to. So I tried to push back or postpone all of the other things I had to do, because for me personally, this was the most crucial and important thing I was doing at the time. I knew that it was important for me to actually get enrolled at a college in the US. So that were a couple of sacrifices I personally had to make to actually spend time and effort on my essays and the application process. Because not only that, you'll have to study for the SAT, which I know it's a hard time right now because of the virus, but you'll have to spend time on the SAT as well, and the TOEFL, and all the other things. So this is a process which shouldn't be taken lightly.
Okay, we'll give a couple of more minutes just for some last questions. You know where to reach us. This session is recorded, so you have the opportunity to watch it again if you like and see the emails we left there. Okay, we have a question from Mila.
Did you concentrate more on the Olympiads or?
Last summer. That's the summer before you applied.
I concentrated more. I went to the International Mathematical Olympiad the summer. So that's in July. So up till July, I concentrated purely on the SAT and the Olympiad and my extracurriculars and all of those things. When July ended, I instantly switched to studying for the TOEFL. I started in September for the TOEFL, if I remember correctly. The whole first semester of your senior year will be SAT, TOEFL, SAT again, subject tests, SAT, and the essays. So I spent the whole semester basically doing the few extracurriculars and the essays and studying for the SAT. So senior year, I haven't focused on Olympiads yet, and I probably won't because I'm starting to prepare for college.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if there are no more questions at the moment, I would say thanks to everyone for taking the time to be here with us. Feel free to reach out. We emphasize that, I think both of us, that communication is really, really important at this point. So if you are frightened, excited, hopeful, whatever your state at the moment is about the application process, it's really important to reach out to people who went through the process or somebody who can help out. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to send that email. Thank you, Anastasija, for doing this. I think it was really, really useful. And we got a lot of practical tips and information from you. And I really appreciate that. Good luck with the preparations. We will stay in touch as well, of course, before you go. But thank you for this particular time and session. To all of you, stay home and stay safe. This is a really troubling time for everybody. But I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do this online and to really help people who are on this process at the moment. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.